Hello, in this video we're going to be making a layer group button. So this is a button where we make it out of a group of layers using the layer group layer set folder in Photoshop. So in this particular case I've already got a button set up a little bit, just not named yet. So I've got a layer group here, and inside this layer group is a text layer that has some text, and I also have a green background for that text as well as a blue background for that text. So the advantage of the layer group button is it allows us to have different pieces that can each have their own little hover states, as little different graphic pieces that each have their own little hover state, as well as a text piece that is a real output as real styled HTML text and actually has search engine value and that sort of stuff. So these are great little buttons to use. So to do this, I'm going to name the group with, just name it with whatever I want the button name to be and the button hint. Now inside the group, this text is called Contact Us, that's fine, but none of the other layers that are inside of it should really have the same name as the button. If the layer group is named Contact Us button, there should be no layer named Contact Us -hover. That name should just not be used. Instead, I'm going to have this be my blue background. I'm just going to name it BG, and this green version that I want to appear on hover, I'm going to name it BG Hover. So this hover matches this layer. BG hover matches BG, even though BG does not have its own hint. I want to make sure that this little Contact Us layer is output as text, and therefore I will either set the anti-alias to none, which is done right here, or put the text hint on this particular layer. So with that, I'm ready to go. And so I'll just go ahead and save this file and open up SiteGrinder 3. SiteGrinder is going to scan the file, give us any warnings in the report. Don't just ignore that one, and let's go ahead and build this out. And as usual, when SiteGrinder builds this, we'll see the page on the right and the page listing on the left with the Design Manager controls on the left. And a layer group button is a little different. A graphic button, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. So now when I roll over, look at that. We have the nice, the layer group is background is changing to the green, and notice the text is anti-aliasing as well. Now that text for the layer group button is controllable. So you see the Contact Us button appears here in the text button and menu styles, and it's using the default layer group button style. And if I want, I could edit this style or make a new style. I'm going to edit this style, and by editing the layer group button style, I'm going to edit the settings used by all layer group buttons, the default setting for all layer group buttons for this particular Photoshop file, which is better than sometimes having to go and make a new style and set it for all these individual buttons and that sort of stuff. But we have both ways of working. So again, if you remember the text buttons video you saw me use a lot of these controls, I can say, oh, well, when it's hovered over, right now the default is to be italic. I actually don't want that. Instead, when it's hovered over, I want the foreground color to change to bright red. And let's see how that works. Oh, that's looking pretty good there. And maybe I will change the text to, when it's hovered over, change it to uppercase. That's not really what I want. How about just capitalize it? How does that look? Oh, that's much better. All right, so that's what I want. So when people roll over the button, the text changes to red, and it says "Contact Us." So that's fantastic. So let's go, and I'll just show one other thing about the layer group buttons, and that's the layer group button is not limited to just one background layer. We can actually have other sorts of things in here as well. So, for example, I can make a little selection here. Make a new layer, and I will just make a little end cap piece, and just call it that. I guess I'll hide this. So I've made a little red end cap there, and that end cap can, I'll just call it end cap. It can have its own hover state as well. So I'll just duplicate this layer, call it end cap hover. Delete this one. Thank you. And then I'll just go ahead and change the color of this end cap in the hover state. And there we go. It's It's now yellow. And so now we have the background has its own custom hover state, and the end cap has its own custom hover state. And so that we can have different sorts of graphics inside the layer group that each have their own individual hover state. So it's very powerful. One last thing about the layer group buttons is that notice that the text layer is completely within the bounds of the graphics, so that the boundary of the graphics completely contains the text layer. That is a requirement for layer group buttons. We could not have a layer group button of, for example, just the end cap and the text. That would not work. The graphics elements of the layer group button must fully encompass the area of the text layer. It must be completely within the graphic area of the layer group button. All right, well, that's everything on layer group buttons. Thank you for watching.